Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of Rock and Roll, the enrollment marketing podcast created by Vision Point Marketing. Today, we're continuing with our series, What Keeps You Up at Night, where Vision Point is partnering with college presidents to better understand the experience of marketers, enrollment agents, and campus leaders and see how we can get to the other side of some of our common challenges. I'm Katy Campbell, the Chief Client Officer here at Vision Point, and I'm so excited to be joined by someone from one of my favorite client partners that we have, Graceland University, Dr. Joel Shrock, President of Graceland. Joel, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, well, I would love to even just start because I think, I've mentioned to you, I've gotten to go see Graceland in person and enjoy your campus. I'd love to just start with a little bit, if you don't mind, high level. Tell the people about Graceland.
Absolutely. Graceland is a fantastic university that has two campuses. We have a traditional residential campus in southern Iowa on the Missouri border, and we have an urban campus that's in Independence, Missouri, which is in the Kansas City metro area. And that campus is focused mainly on nursing, adult programs, and online programs.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm curious if, when you tell people you work at Graceland or by the time they've come to one of your campuses or met some of your students, is there something that tends to be surprising when people learn it about your institution?
Absolutely. When they come to the main campus, they're always shocked by how diverse our campus is. We're actually a minority majority campus.
Hmm.
So the amount of diversity on our campus is gigantic. We're about 45% African American and Hispanic and about 10% international. So we have a very high percentage of diverse students on campus. So it's usually surprising when you are in rural Iowa.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I love that. That probably brings forward such a like rich campus environment, culture. I'm curious to like how you would describe the feel, texture, vibe of Graceland.
It's it's really kind of amazing. I mean, we have people from 29 different countries here this
Mm.
year. So when we had our International Day, about 40 food stations were set up, and the students made food from their home country or just had desserts from their home country. And it was amazing. We had hundreds of people show up. It's just such an interesting collection of students because there's just people from all over the world. You know, we have one student from Iceland. It's almost inexplicable to me, but we do. We have a large number of students from South America, from Europe. It's a really eclectic group of students with a lot of different uh, cultures and a lot of different traditions, but they all come together at Graceland.
Yeah. And I know Graceland has really this, rich history of as an institution and how it's evolved over the last couple of decades. I'd be curious to hear you speak about how do you all balance between maintaining traditions or some of the things that are so truly Graceland and innovating to consistently attract or be the space for modern students.
That really is the key. That's the key we've really identified. Our deep roots are really important to us because we are rooted in a religious tradition, the community of Christ. We're very proud of that. We're proud that we reflect their values in our institution, in our coursework, in the way in which we go about our business. We are proud of the fact that we draw a diverse group of people from all over the world. But we are innovators. We were one of the first campuses in the country to put the Masters of Science in Nursing online. We had one of the very first online MSN programs in the whole country. And that's still a very large and successful program for us. So we are really focused on innovation, even as we rely on our traditions and our values to focus with our mission and our future.
So to say that back to you, it's almost like there's this core piece of who Graceland is, values, traditions, origin story, even if you will. But it's less that reflects less in maybe the specific modality or program you offer. It's more underlying throughout all of it.
Absolutely. The current of who we are in the mission is everywhere.
Hmm.
If it's not missional, we're not going to do it. It has
Yeah.
to be missional.
Yeah, no, you can definitely feel that even in terms of like new programs you all develop or the culture that I know you foster on the undergrad side with things as, interesting and original as house systems and so forth. There seems to be a root to it all.
Absolutely. The house system is one of the most unique elements of what we do. Every student that comes in is put on a residence hall floor. That's pretty normal. But each floor is organized around a house. We don't have like traditional RAs. We have house presidents.
Hmm.
And the house president is more like an RA and a fraternity president or sorority president all combined into one position. It's a position of incredible responsibility. And they organize not just maintaining the floor, they organize all of the house activities, all of the house academic focus. And as with most things, our houses are very competitive. And we have house championship just very much in the Harry Potter vein. They compete, there are points, they're all in.
I I
Homecoming
love
week is insane at Graceland University.
I love that. Who is the reigning champion, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, right now, it's Agape for the men, and I believe Solo for the women.
Okay, shout out.
They're yeah, they won this year for homecoming. But the competitions never stop.
Oh, interesting. I know. I'm so intrigued by it all, and I can only imagine as part of an undergrad experience, especially as you were talking about such a diverse makeup, students from all over the world coming to kind of this more rural campus right on the state and right on the Midwestern border. It's like here's instant community and yeah, something to really connect to.
It is really important for us to do that because we are in a really small town in Lamoni. It's about 1,700 people. We have a small campus. So it's very important for us to build in community and connection.
Yeah. I'm curious too, speaking of where the campus is, it's always a question for me as to, well, how did you end up there? I would love to hear a little bit about your journey to becoming the president of Graceland.
Thanks. I'm a history professor, so I've been teaching US and world history for the last 30 years. And I've worked in a variety of places all around the country. And at one point I decided my goal really was to work at a liberal arts college. That's really where I wanted to go because I'd worked at larger schools. And I ended up working at Anderson University for 18 years in Indiana. And I became a dean there and then I became provost there. But I decided I really was looking for a presidency and I needed a change to help build my resume, to help build my skill set. So I looked around the country and I saw that there was a vice president for academic affairs position at Graceland. And I did my homework and it was the kind of place I wanted to come to. It had a very diverse portfolio of programs. It's two campuses. It's was majority minority. It has the crazy house system, which is amazing. And it just had a lot of things I was interested in. So I came here for that. And when the presidency came open, I was lucky enough to be considered and to be the top candidate for that. So I was really pleased because that's been my goal for the last 5 years.
Yeah, how exciting. Well, congratulations and so excited for you.
You
I'm
know,
curious with your background in academic affairs, and now you're joining us on an enrollment marketing podcast. I think enrollment marketers, we hear a lot at conferences and from some of our client partners, a lot of the times they have to communicate, collaborate, work alongside their president who they don't come from a direct marketing background. I'm curious to kind of how those conversations have been going for you. What's your view on the role of enrollment marketing in this larger university picture?
once you get into administration, you realize there are a couple of things that you need to understand. You need to understand the business side of what goes on in the university. You need to understand the athletic side of what goes on in the university. But you also need to know admissions and marketing.
Mm.
Those are vital. It's like any business that relies upon sales. If you don't have good marketing and admissions, then you will have the greatest university that has no people at it. You have to have those things. particularly in today's world where competition is so intense, it is a vital part of what we do. And if you don't invest in that, you will have very few people going to your university. It's it's really essential. And the most interesting thing, I think the most successful marketing, and I think what our relationship has really brought out is really who we are.
Mm.
Small liberal arts schools aren't very good at articulating who they are and their purpose and selling themselves. It's we all say the same four things about ourselves, oh, small class sizes, we really get to know our students. Yeah, but there's 3,000 of us and we all do that. So what is it about us? And I think our work with Vision Point has really helped us to pull out our unique qualities and to put that into our marketing and really help to tell students this is who we are and this is what you get when you come here.
Yeah. No, I think you're onto something. Absolutely. There's, we refer to it a lot as the sea of sameness, but there's this idea
Yes.
that a lot of higher ed marketing, I come from a non-higher ed background, but a lot of higher ed marketing, you switch the logo, the colors a little bit, and it could kind of be anyone. Um,
Yes.
and to your point, especially then when you get into more of those verticals of like small liberal arts school, okay, so now it really could be one of these,
Right.
this handful. But to what you were saying, I think a lot of institutions feel there's this statement in professional sports, which is, when you go. And then I started to hear that a lot in higher ed, which was, oh, once they get here, they'll
Right.
know. But to your point, well, what's the message to even get them there?
Yes.
What will they know? How do you articulate that into becoming actually a message that is of interest and compelling? And it is
Right.
hard to do. It's hard to do because everything is true. All those four things everyone says, they're true, but how do you make them interesting, have some conviction behind them?
I agree. It is difficult, but we all do have unique cultures and qualities. It's just the ability to articulate that. And that's why a marketing partnership is so essential to help us articulate our differences and to have good marketing people on staff. Like I I can almost guarantee there's no other university or college in the country whose tagline is radical belonging. I
Mm,
mean, that's a relatively unique stance to take, but that's our stance. That's what we think is important. We think people who can't succeed or feel good at a lot of other institutions can come to Graceland and feel welcomed
yeah.
because of our culture, because of our emphasis on radical belonging, because of the house system. We just ensure people don't get lost.
Mm.
And so that's a value that's important to us. And it's part of our commitments and values and our church history and all of those things which are important to us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And what you're saying too is that even if you can find the unique thing to say, you can find that unique thing to say, but finding the unique thing to say that is also incredibly authentic is so critical because if it doesn't match the product, someone gets there and it's like, what am I doing here? Yeah,
Right.
and everyone has it. It's just about finding it and then almost really doubling down on it, owning it.
Yeah, it's really funny. This happened to the when I was VPAA with the previous president here, Pat Drave. She's wonderful, but she had a parent come up to her and say, "Okay, so what's it really like here?
Mm,
You people are all been very nice. Everyone's been delightful, but what's it really like?" And we were just like, this is really what it's like. We
we
don't
mean
really
it.
change once the parents leave. We really do want to have a culture, a student culture that's welcoming, where students have a great experience. We want to be a great place to work. We want all of those things to be true.
Yeah.
Like many people, we don't always succeed. Like there are always challenges, always facilities. That's a huge challenge. That's constant when you have a 130-year-old university.
Sure.
You have old buildings. You have old boilers. Our heat went out for about 6 hours on the coldest day of the year, just on Sunday and Monday. Not the way you want to start the week.
No.
Now we got it fixed, we got the boilers back on, but it was cold for a while. But these are the challenges you have when you have a university and you have an infrastructure that you have to keep up with, and things go wrong, and you got to be able to
Yeah.
adapt and change and fix them quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we have to, I have some questions around some of the challenges you all face, but you mentioned something around marketing, kind of understanding marketing is almost like sales to a for-profit company. And I think that's a really interesting statement because so frequently I feel like in higher ed, we're talking about our students, absolutely, but they are customers. They are high
Yes.
dollar customers. And I'm really intrigued to hear a president kind of bring that perspective as to like the business model of the institution. Really though, with this extra almost pressure in a way, but it is a student. Yes, it's a customer who's making maybe one or two time decision in their life, a big dollar decision in their life, but they get that maybe frame or mindset from the institution of, but you're more than just a customer, you're a student, you're a person.
Right. It is such a delicate balance to
Mm,
walk. I think we're always sort of on a knife's edge because we have a business model that has to work, right? We actually have to make enough money to pay everyone and to keep everything running. It's essential. We're a nonprofit, but we have to make enough money for all
yeah.
of it to work. So the admissions and the marketing side is essential. It's the bread and butter that keeps everything running so that we can get those students here. And that's essential. But we in a way we do provide a product to students, but we're not selling them the product. What we're actually selling is the opportunity
Mm,
to engage for us in our learning community so that they can develop themselves and go out and make a difference. That's what we provide. And sometimes students are like, well, I'm paying you. I should, there's something. It's like, whoa, 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 no. You're paying us for an opportunity and you have a seat. But in order to do that, there's a lot that you have to do as well. You have to engage, you have to take charge of your education. And this is the one thing that I try to tell college students all the time is in high school. You have separated yourself from when you were a minor to when you are now the age of majority. You need to take control of what's happening here. You need to engage with us. If you want to go through college and try to do nothing, you could probably skate through with C's and D's and get just enough of a GPA to graduate and learn as little as possible, right? That's going to happen. But why on earth would you? What we try to teach our students here is you want to be a professional and you have these goals. Where are you right now? And what do you need to do to reach these goals?
mhm.
And let us help you do that. But we can't work unless you help us and engage with us. It's 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 a crazy thing in a way because our success is totally dependent on student engagement.
Yeah. It's this interesting two-way street. You're absolutely right, where you almost need participation on both sides. You have to have participation on both sides. And also it's a pathway somewhere else. It's the level you engage now also could determine the opportunities you then have in the future. It's almost like use this road to get there.
It
Take
is.
advantage of it.
And a lot of people still see it as like a continuation of high school. And I'm like,
Mm,
okay, you got to get out of that mindset. What this really is a time for preparation for the professional world where the only thing at stake is grades. Once you graduate, there's a lot more at stake.
yep.
There's jobs, there's raises, there's money. For us, we are here to teach you skills and content knowledge that you need to be that professional. Like we want our nurses to know how to
Hmm.
nurse, but we also want our nurses to know how to critically think and to write well and to communicate well.
Yeah.
It's all of those things. So you can develop as a person, you can develop as a human being, you can develop as a professional, but you have to do the work to get where you want to be. No one else can do it for you. And it's the kind of we're here to partner, but we are dependent upon 18-year-old decision making.
Yep. It's a marketing challenge too. It's like how do you put that as a, compelling message or a message to then drive consideration in front of 17-year-olds?
It's so funny. And they change. What they want changes, every 4 or 5 years, which just makes it more interesting, I guess. But it's also a challenge to figure out what they want, what's important to them. Like it
Yep.
used to be climbing walls, but it doesn't seem no one seems to care about climbing walls right now. For that was the rage for a decade, but that doesn't seem to be it right now.
I half expected pickleball courts after the pandemic, but no, absolutely. Well, and I'm curious, as when thinking about what a critical role marketing plays in that as coming into this role where you haven't come from a marketing background, but you are now working alongside people who are in that mentality or bringing that expertise. What do you almost hope that they communicate to you in terms of success? Like how do you measure the success of the marketing efforts going on there?
That's a really good question. For me, number one, do the marketing efforts feel like it's an authentic representation of who and what we are? That's number one. I think that's really important. You could market the daylights out of yourself, but if it's really not who you are, you're going to get a bunch of students come to your university or college and they're going to look around and say, hey, this isn't really what you advertised. When we advertise radical belonging in the house system, that is really what you find.
Hmm.
And if students leave, they'll often say, they'll often say, wow, you were right. I mean, it was a fantastic culture. You just don't have the major I want, or I'm
Sure.
too far from home, or I want to play in my sport and I'm not playing here. Those are the things we hear when students transfer, not you're not what you advertised, because we are. So that's really important. I think number one is just to have that. And then number two, I mean, the rubber meets the road with admissions. Like marketing is connected to admissions and it has to produce numbers. There's a number at the top of the funnel that I want to see. I talk to my athletic director every week about our recruiting numbers.
Hmm.
Like, where are we? What's football have? What's their goal? How are they going to meet that goal? Can they exceed that goal? What's soccer? Women's soccer. We need more women here. How's women's soccer doing? What's softball doing? Track. I need to know what's going on with flag football. We're starting women's wrestling. Like
Nice.
all of those elements. Yeah, thanks. All of those elements are key because there is a producible a product from the marketing connected to admissions that leads to numbers, and that's a
Hmm.
direct tie. And so there's, in a way, you can easily see the product of your work because marketing is tied to admissions, which is tied to our freshman class.
Yeah. No, it's so true. It's like there's not one silver bullet that's now going to take care of all of this. You do have to look across the board, but I love the idea of almost reverse engineering your end goal into, okay, so this is then what the admissions team needs to be successful. For the admissions team to be successful, this is what we need from marketing to drive that success and knowing it is a full funnel view at all times.
Yes,
Yeah, no.
absolutely.
Mhm. And now kind of, we've talked about a couple of challenges, anything from facilities to, gosh, everyone knows the demographic cliff on, been coming here. I'm curious. So Joel, for you, what are the things keeping you up at night? Out of all of the things, what are the ones kind of driving the insomnia these days?
There's a number of things that keep you up at night as a president. It, Facilities is the one that was the least expected in a
Hmm.
way. As a new president, I think existing presidents would have pulled me aside and said, "Yeah, it's going to keep you up because there's always something going on. There's always oh gosh, the second day of my presidency in first semester, we discovered that 9 of our showers in the one of our women's residence halls had to be taken offline for 8 weeks. That's not what you want to discover on the second day of classes. That's a
Or
nightmare scenario.
I would think you wouldn't even know to ask about it as a new president. Like I wouldn't have even
No,
thought.
no, because nobody knew what was going on. It was all behind the scenes. It was all in the middle of no one knew what was happening until it went wrong. So those things are really frustrating. But I think overall, just ensuring that your business model works
Hmm.
is something that keeps you up at night. All Almost all liberal arts colleges are under some sort of economic pressure.
Yeah.
So that's intense that you try to deal with on a daily basis. and the political atmosphere that we're in makes it all more complicated.
Mm.
Right now, things are very complex at the state and national level in many ways because there's just a lot of change coming at us, and trying to manage that change, manage expectations, manage what's happening with your alumni and your students and your prospective students and parents is all it's all challenging. This is a one of the more challenging atmospheres, I think, for higher ed in the last
Hmm.
70 years, really.
Yeah, a lot of unknowns. I'm curious, are there things that the enrollment marketers around you could provide, whether that's data or insights or more consistently that would um, that stress doesn't go away, but I'm trying to think if there's something that would be helpful to provide to the college presidents in our worlds.
Well, I think we just need to continue to innovate on the marketing side
Mm,
and the admission side. And I think AI is one of the areas where we're going to see significant innovation. And we just have to we have to treat admissions differently as an industry than we have for the past 30 years. Admissions has kind of been an afterthought. It's the place where you have a lot of pass-through jobs where they have sort of modest pay and you expect 24 to 28-year-olds in those positions, and they'll be there a few years and they'll be gone. I think we need to totally rethink that. We've rejected that philosophy here. We've raised the pay. We've started hiring people with different age ranges, with different levels of experience, particularly people with sales experience.
mm.
We're just looking at a completely different model for admissions. And I think tied to that, we really need to lean into AI and connect it with our marketing very heavily. We are leaning into an AI recruiter that will really help us at the top of the funnel. We're excited about that. But I do think that, I mean, the AI recruiter can, if we have 1,000 students that have completed only a portion of the application, that AI recruiter can follow up with those people nonstop, like
Right.
however often we want to connect with them through text, email, phone call, whatever it is. And they could do it in a way that our actual in-person recruiters would struggle to match.
Yeah.
So I think there are ways that we need to innovate with the technology that can really help us. And we're at the front end of what this is transformation is going to look like, but I think we need to jump in and figure out how to use it because if we don't, you'll be left behind.
Yeah. No, I so appreciate that. It's more so like breaking the cycle of expecting the same practices to continue to work, even though what you were saying earlier, our students expect something different, our prospects are interested in something different. They're grappling with different things and they expect a different experience, whether that's the Amazon experience of frequency and availability,
Right.
the Netflix experience of personalization, whatever it might be. And I'm very much with you. I think if there's one thing the pandemic did, I do think it put some of the options that had previously been off the table on the table. It was now time to really turn the ship in
Yeah.
more than just a couple of degrees. And I think that's what's going to be required as we move forward to find a successful business model and fill our class and retain our class
Right. And if there's any generation comfortable talking to an AI chatbot, it's this generation of students.
completely.
And they could call any time. It's a 24-hour chatbot. They could call at 3 a.m. in the morning and chat with this unbelievably lifelike artificial person that can help recruit them. It's really something, and it's so funny. Our board of trustees was saying, who would want to call and talk to a chatbot? And I'm like, everyone from the youngest generations. It's just not you.
They'll text it first and then they'll call if they really need to.
I was just going to say that none of them are going to call, first of
Yeah, I
all.
know. It's like it's the same. I mean, even look at I'm much more willing to call to talk to an airline now because I can text their AI assistant
Yes.
to change the
Yeah.
flight. It's yeah, it's let's
A
take
hundred
from other
percent.
industries. Let's take from
Right.
other verticals. Well, Joel, thank you so much for this time. If you don't mind,
Sure.
we'll end with a little rapid fire here just to round
Sure.
us out. But first question for you, favorite book or podcast lately that you'd want to share?
Amanda Ripley, Conflict. It's a
Hmm.
great book about conflict and how you get out of it and what good conflict is versus bad conflict.
Oh, interesting. I'll add it to I'll add it to the TBR, the to be read list. That sounds great.
Yes.
I'd be curious, something I know that I keep with me a lot is kind of personal mantras or sayings that help not only guide personally but professionally. I'm curious if there's any that you would want to share.
Yeah, I really believe that characters revealed not by success but by failure.
Hmm.
That how you respond to failure is really more important than how you respond to success. Because you're going to fail more than you're going to succeed.
Yeah.
And that failure should lead you to success.
Yeah. Love that. It's kind of in the same idea of like there's I remember hearing once, if everything's an experiment, nothing's a failure in this way. Like
Right.
everything is just telling you something else.
That's right.
Yeah, love that. And last one for you, newer to the college president role, but already making some big moves there. I'm curious to your fresh perspective. What's one thing you wish every college president could hear or truly know?
Change is not bad.
Hmm.
It's important. And sometimes it's painful, but it is essential if we're going to thrive in the 21st century.
Yeah, and inevitable. It's one of
I'm a
those.
historian, and most people think we hate change, but really, all I study is change over time. That was my whole job, to study change. So I embrace it. I don't reject it.
No, I that's a really cool perspective or curious perspective to bring to it, in the sense of actually your back to your roots, your foundation was almost just studying change. Yeah, studying the way
It's
that
really what it is.
humanity has adapted to change over the course of decades and centuries, and it's not going to stop, not stopping anytime soon.
It's
Oh,
not.
so great. Joel, thank you so much for the time. We're so glad to have you. And for those listening, please, if Vision Point could be of help to you, please check out visionpointmarketing.com. And Joel, thanks again. So cheering you and Graceland on always.
So thanks, Katie. I appreciate it.